We are talking Ghosts of the Ozarks. This one is directed by Matt Glass and Jordan Wayne Long. And this stars Thomas Hobson, Phil Morris and David Arquette. So this movie is very much like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village in a lot of ways. And it focuses on this doctor, a black man, who, after the American Civil War has just kind of ended, and he is invited to this kind of out of the way kind of community in the middle of the kind of the forest, which is kind of like a gated community, so to speak. And there seems to be some type of presence within in the forest, and that's referred to as ghosts. You know, we don't exactly what they are. They just seem to be some type of entities that exist within this kind of like this red mist that seem to be attacking people. And within this kind of community, everyone seems initially very happy, very idyllic community. There doesn't seem to be any kind of hint of racism or anything like that. And you know, this new doctor, James, the character, you know, seems to be quite happy there and kind of sets up shop. But as the movie goes on, we learn that there may be a darker purpose to all of this, and everything is not quite as it seems. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss what I think works in this movie. I have to say the character of James and the actor that portrayed him did a good job of making a likeable, relatable character. Very much a kind of a softly spoken guy who, you know, just wants to kind of restart his life. And, you know, he's not particularly looking to be a hero. He's not really looking to be a kind of a man of action. And to be fair, he really isn't. But he's a very kind of relatable character, very kind of seemingly a caring man who just wants to kind of like help this community that seems to have kind of welcomed him. So I really kind of enjoyed the character of James, and a very kind of like, as I say, a rootable, so to speak, lead character. And there are some other kind of some fun characters in this kind of community. David Arquette, the kind of the owner of this kind of like this fashion shop, for example, things like this. So some fun kind of characters here. Now when we kind of do go outside, we see these kind of like these entities in the kind of the forest. And I have to say they look very kind of like scary and kind of demonic. As to what they are, kind of all will be revealed as you kind of go through the movie. But nonetheless, when we do see them, which to be honest with you isn't a lot within this film, I have to say they look suitably impressive, and you know, you can understand why people would be wary of them, shall we say. The movie itself is somewhat of a kind of a mystery. As I've said, it's kind of reminiscent of The Village, and I feel most people whilst watching this will then think, oh, this is kind of like a low-budget version of The Village. I mean, it's not exactly the kind of the same, but it's very much in shades of that film. What doesn't work for me, whilst I was watching this, it got to about the halfway mark, and I was thinking, what is this film actually about? I couldn't really kind of tell you. So it takes a while to get going. I would say kind of from the halfway mark, it does start to have certain kind of reveals, and kind of people's intentions are kind of hinted at a little bit more. But I have to say, until that point, although I think it started off quite well, I feel it sometimes lingers a little bit too long, and you don't really feel like the story is kind of moving kind of forward at any pace. It kind of has a somewhat of a cheap feel to it. Now, this is a kind of a low-budget movie, admittedly, but the kind of the set design here, and it kind of looks a little just fake-looking. It looks like kind of sets or sort of things that like from like a, you know, like a western town sort of tourist attraction kind of type place at times here. I have to say as well, as we get to the second half of the movie and more things are revealed, it's so reminiscent of the Village. And I have to be honest with you, I mean, look how well regarded that movie is in kind of M. Night Shyamalan's catalogue of movies, i.e. not particularly kind of well. But it's a lot more underwhelming than maybe it sets up in that respect. So again, we're not kind of spoiling anything for you here. I feel the initial setup is kind of quite strong and seems quite kind of menacing. But as it's revealed, it's a lot less interesting than you may initially expect. And I have to say, it's rather convoluted. I have to say, if you have to apply logic to this kind of situation, I think you'd find a lot of holes here in regards to how things probably would have played out if we were to believe kind of what actually is going on here. Just seems a little bit kind of far-fetched, and like you're relying a little bit too much on people just not saying anything and things like this. And again, I don't want to kind of get too much into spoilers and stuff here, but it seems a little bit hard to believe at times. Some of the other acting as well is a little bit of a mixed bag, I will say, not particularly kind of strong, and it just becomes a little bit, you know, of a kind of like, well, it was okay, but it wasn't all that interesting, and the movie almost squanders its kind of potential to a certain degree. I have to say, this movie ultimately was a little bit dull. I like the character, I like the setup, and you know, I kind of to a point enjoyed the kind of the mystery here, but had it not been for the village, I think this movie could have fared a lot better. But it just seems pointless to kind of remake a film that isn't well regarded and just kind of change a few things in there. So overall, I give this movie a 4 out of 10. It's you know, a slightly kind of below average film for me, but not without some merits, as I say, and a particular likeable kind of character I think carries this. This was actually adapted from a kind of a short film with a lot of the kind of the same people involved, but I don't know if it was really a particularly must-see movie. 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.